I need you guys to understand that I don't have a problem with the coffee bill. I don't have a problem with the coffee law that has just been passed. I just have 3 reservations about the move that was taken. 3. And whoever is watching this video, whether you're going to share it or not, or comment or do what, or I don't care. I am just requesting you to make sure that you're objective. 1, why would the president come to speak to the nation after the law has been passed? Anyone who's reasonable, who's learned, who's educated, who is a good leader or manager, I'm not talking about the president, I'm talking about the people who have managed this transition, knows that you have to do what we call change management to bring a new thing. And change management does not happen after you've introduced the new thing, because in that case, what you're doing is firefighting. Change management happens from the time you think of the idea, from the time you decide to do stakeholder engagements. If you know, for example, that Uganda is the biggest grower of coffee, and the Katikiro is the biggest crusader of coffee growing in Uganda, in Buganda, then it would be wrong for Katikiro not to know the real composition of the coffee law. You as government should have engaged the Katikiro as the main crusader of coffee growers in the main coffee growing region before you even brought the bill into parliament. Actually, in the real sense of bringing up new ideas in national development, in government organization, even in businesses, you have to consult stakeholders. The stakeholders should have an input in the new idea or ideology that you're going to introduce. So my first reservation is the president engaging the public after, in the aftermath, not consulting before and rallying them to support the change. If it was good, we should have been rallied earlier to avoid this backlash. Maybe actually the bill is okay. Maybe the provisions therein are actually okay, but we don't know them. You just don't first force it on us and then come and tell us this is the good thing I forced on you. Number 2, my second reservation, is the fact that it has been put to be managed under a main ministry. Those who don't know, in government there's what we call MDAs, ministries, directorates, and agencies or authorities. For those who are civil servants or who have been in civil service like me, we know that anything under a main ministry, a mother ministry or line ministry, anyway, anything under direct management of a ministry, those who are in civil service, you can comment and tell people what happens. You cannot trust it to be efficient and effective. That is why people are pure public servant and they're not in parastatals. Parastatals, those are people in the agencies and authorities. They are privately and somehow independently managed. And for that reasons, they are managed as if in a private sector. But for us who are in pure public service, my friends, people can come at work at 11. Just tell me one project you know in this country that is currently running and it is directly managed by a ministry and it's efficient, effective, and successful and sustainably successful. Just put it in the comments. So for me, the moment they said it's going back to a ministry, I was like, I know I have a lot of friends who are both in civil service of pure public service and civil service in parastatals. I know the difference. Number 3, and my last reservation, rationalization. You know, this process of rationalization of choosing which entities to go back to the ministry or not, it's supposed to have a rationale. And the rationale is we should reduce and cut the budgets or the expenses of the country, of the nation, of the government. Okay, let's go to this. In creating a rationale to amalgamate an agency back to a ministry, we have to consider whether the expenses we are putting in this agency and authority is worthwhile, whether the returns on investment are justifiable. Number 2, you have to ask yourself in the rationale whether it will really reduce in the expenses. When I look at the provisions in the recently passed law, I've not really gone in depth. Clearly, we've created new activities, new roles that are actually going to ensure that the same amount UCDA has been spending is going to be spent in the ministry to do less or just exactly what UCDA was going to do. But in any case, do you want to tell me that amalgamating some of these agencies is the best way to cut the country's budgets and expenses? Regimes all over in this world, on this universe, when they want to cut budgets, they don't start with agencies, they don't start with departments. No, that's not rational. That's not rational. I want you to pay attention. Every new leadership, every regime that has set out to genuinely cut expenses of a given nation, they start with reducing the size of the cabinet. Did you guys know that Uganda's cabinet is bigger than any government in the East and Central Africa, actually in most governments in the world? But what is interesting, you can do your research. Add up the cabinet number of Kenya, Rwanda, and Tanzania. You will see it is just equivalent to the number of ministers in Uganda. So the number of ministers in Uganda are the same number of ministers of the 3 states of its neighbors. And trust me, some years from now, it's going to be bigger because we are going to add more ministers. They are coming. Leave alone these RDCs, Simaya RDCs, ADRDCs. That's we know why it is happening. But the Parliament of Uganda, no wonder people are now just fighting. It's like, it has become like a school where there's bullying and teasing, where there's nkusobola, sikusobola. What? And we're spending more to create for them offices. Some of them, we have given them guards. We have given them patrol pickups as escorts and lead cars. And we are looking on how to cut budgets. Government officials, some of them at levels of just a commissioner, they have a lady car. You find one government official with 2 escort cars. Each escort car has 6 people seated outside, and the driver and the commandant. And then the other one, which is also behind. 16 people. But in addition, they have guards at their houses and at their farms. So one person has 20 police officers. That is a whole battalion of police officers. That is a whole police station. Some of your police stations, you who is watching me, that they do not have more than 12 police officers, including the OC and the OCCID. Which means one person has 2 police stations on him. And they don't even have any security threat. They just don't want to be in jam. The jam that has been created by their own negligence. And I'm not an opposition person. I'm just a Ugandan. I am actually sometimes pro this regime. And the reason that's why sometimes I'm pro this regime, sometimes in the opposition, you see how Chagulanyi said there's more politics in the music industry than in parliament. Sometimes there's more chaos in the opposition than in the regime. I used to be more aligned to the opposition until something was said to me. Anyway, I'm not going to go into those details. But my point is, it doesn't matter where you are. You should mind about the development of your country. You should mind about the direction of your country. We should all be advocates of a peaceful transition in Uganda. Let Uganda be the first African country to have a peaceful, sustainable transition of power, whether it is within the same party or to another party. Because in Africa, it has been known, every revolutionary government, when it's changing power, it has never been successful, peacefully, especially sustainable. There might seem to be peace, but after about 5 years or a decade, the country goes away. You tell me one revolutionary government that successfully and sustainably, peaceably transitioned power. That's why every one of us should be prepared and we put on our seatbelts. But why should we go into such chaos? Mind the language you use when you're advocating for Guys, I've even gone